Hello, and welcome to Staring into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach, and I'm bringing you a special Abyss straight from Relay itself with our Lord and Savior Cthulhu, because it's that time of year where we get together and we sacrifice a newborn, pure human for the good of everybody else. And with the knife in his hand next to me is Matt Brandenburg.
Are we even sure if this is a pure human? I don't even know what pure human means. Is that like the pure water, P-U-R? That's like, I don't know, water? I'm just holding this knife. Whatever. I need to cut something. I'll cut something.
And holding the boy is Vitlame Mist.
Long may insanity reign.
And welcome to a year-end recap on Staring into the Abyss. It's Christmas time. It's New Year's. Hanukkah starts Monday. It's a good time for everybody. And we're going to take some time to go through some of our favorite books, movies, TV shows, snuff movies, whatever we've seen this year, to kind of go over to our audience. I'm going to put that stuff there. Yeah, you do that.
It's so funny because I was like thinking, I'm like 2020. I know every year now it seemed like it lasted forever, but I feel like this year has lasted for a very long time too, maybe even longer.
Felt so long.
Just like I don't even know what happened. I mean, I don't know. Did we invent the internet? Do we have cars that fly now? I don't know. It's all craziness. So moral of the story is, I don't know, maybe H.P. Lovecraft is a brand new writer right now, and we are just discovering this person.
Does that mean it's racism all over again?
I mean, I won't encourage you to check online then.
Fair enough. But no, I think this year it's been super long, but you know what? A lot of good shit came out this year.
This is true.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like consumerism, like media consumerism wise, there's been a lot of shit.
There has been.
There's been too much shit.
Yeah.
It's been insane.
It's been just so hard now just to regulate what you want to watch and try to put it in your schedule. And then when someone else jumps into like, hey, have you seen this? And then you're like, wait, this is on too?
Right? And you're like, fuck, I got to sign up for another streaming service to watch this show that apparently everybody watches.
I'm still so bummed that they Netflix didn't buy the rights again for RuPaul's Drag Race season 15.
Oh,
and it's like on Paramount Plus, and I'm like, I don't want to pay for it. Yeah. But then I was like, but my soul needs more Drag Race. So maybe, I don't know, I might cave.
Just, yeah, one day. I'll just sit back and watch people talk about things, and I'll figure it out one day.
Let me check the chat.
People are like, what's happening? We got things happening behind the scenes.
Things happening behind the scenes.
No, seriously, I've been trying to go the alternative route, but no one's sharing it. So I'm like, fine, I might just cave then.
I will say though, Paramount Plus is worth it for the Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe movie.
I laughed
so
it's
hard.
There. It's there.
Oh my gosh. I
forgot
about
so
that.
Hard that movie. Well, just to give some media roundup for this week before we go into our favorites.
Yeah.
I actually just finished comic before we began our podcast.
Well, nice.
Silver Surfer Parable, written by Stan Lee and illustrated by Mobius.
Oh, wow.
And it's a 2-issue special about Galactus returning to Earth and people viewing him as a messiah figure.
Okay.
And they make a whole religion based around Galactus. And Silver Surfer becomes enemy to humanity because he fights back against their messiah. And the whole thing's kind of like this kind of play on religion and mankind's search for a savior and messiah. It was really interesting.
When did this come out? I mean, obviously with Stan Lee writing it. 1988.
1988.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good. Like Mobius's artwork was amazing. Stan Lee's plotting I thought was really good, but he sucks at dialogue sometimes.
Oh yeah, he's stuck back in that
Yeah.
golden age time.
Yeah, he's really stuck. Like he has like a Silver Surfer's dressed up as a homeless man for like the beginning of the comic, and Galactus makes being homeless illegal. So the police begin rounding up homeless people and putting them into work camps. And they go to Silver Surfer and they go, "Hey, scuzzbag." It's like super like no one fucking said that.
Scuzzbag? No, we need to bring that back, man.
I think we do. You know, I mean, like a bag of scuzz just doesn't sound very good.
But
I have no idea what it is, but probably not.
It's scuzz, you know? We all have scuzz.
Question mark. Scuzz. But honestly, though, it was a really, really great. It was a really great comic. Like, it felt like a golden age comic with kind of a bit of a twist to it. Because, like, Stan Lee back in the golden age of comics, like Golden Age Spider-Man was fucking great.
Yeah.
So it was fun kind of revisiting that old school like style comic. And I just got off, I know we talked about this before the recording, but I just got off of a 3-day binge of Barry.
Nice.
I could not put this show down. Like I legit watched one season a night.
Wow. How many episodes are in a season?
8 episodes and they're half an hour each.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's not terrible.
It's not terrible. They go really fast, but it's one of those shows where like it's once it starts, you can't stop. Like it's really funny. It's really intense. Bill Hader is fucking great. Yeah. Everyone in the show is great. Henry Winkler gives a really good performance in it too.
Oh.
I do love Henry Winkler. He's a fun dude.
He pulls up his dramatic muscle in this show.
Oh.
Like, he's a funny guy, but we see the more like dramatic side to his acting, and he's fucking great.
I love it. That's great.
The premise, I'm pretty sure our audience knows, but the premise is Bill Hader plays a Marine veteran who's become a hitman, and he wants to quit the hitman life and become an actor. Once he discovers an acting class run by disgraced actor Gene Cousineau, played by Henry Winkler. And it follows him as he struggles to balance his criminal lifestyle and his acting lifestyle, and his question of if he can be good despite all the killing he seems to do and not really feel bad about taking a life.
Yeah, there you go.
And then besides that, I've been reading Autumn by David Moody, which I'm almost done with. You might have heard of this. It's actually, they made it into a really shitty movie. That was David Carradine's last movie.
Oh.
But the premise, it's by David Moody. It takes place in England. And in the book, in the very beginning of the book, like the first paragraph, 99% of the world population die from a random virus.
Okay.
Like no one knows what it is. Like in a minute, everyone just vomiting up blood and dies. And one of our main characters watches his wife and daughter die in front of him, but he's immune to whatever sickness it is. And he decides to leave the house, and he finds a shelter to kind of like store some food and get away from the families of his wife and his daughter. And other people make the way to the same shelter, and they begin trying to survive. And then very slowly, the bodies begin to reanimate.
Oh, interesting.
And like right now, I'm at the point where it's like the bodies can walk, and they can feel, and they can smell, but they don't really have any intelligence, and they can't see because they died. Their pupils are gone, so they're kind of like blind and wandering. And I'm pretty sure some zombie cannibal action's going to happen in a bit, but right now it's just our characters are kind of like just trying to find a new place to lay low because their old place had a flock of zombies heading towards it. So they left it to go somewhere more isolated.
Nice.
But either way, no one's been killed by them yet. They're just trying to figure out like what's going on and how are we going to survive.
That sounds interesting.
So, and it's like 5 books. So we'll see how we can make this fucking carry on for a few more books.
It's 5 books. Holy crap!
Wow! Damn.
That's more than 5 books.
More.
It is. Yeah. So David Moody has like, the dude loves zombies. He has like 2 zombie. He has like one series, like the Autumn series, which is very much zombies. He has another series called like Hater, which is similar to zombies, but a bit different than zombies. He just likes zombies. So the first Autumn book. So for Autumn, he wrote, opening up Amazon right now because we are professionals here on the Abyss. Okay, so for Autumn, he wrote 5 books, then a 6th book of short stories. And he recently put out Autumn, the London trilogy, which retraces the original part of Autumn and focuses on what was happening in London while Autumn was going on.
I mean, I guess that works.
So
that's a lot.
It is a lot. So I'll see how I feel at the end of the book. But so far I'm enjoying it. It's really well written. And I think it's pretty interesting so far.
Well, good.
So hopefully it picks things up that way. And I have one last thing, and then I'll go to Matt. Well, typically 2, but I'm saving 1 for our top things of the year, which I think might cause some controversy between Matt and myself.
Oh,
I think
God, really? I already know what you're thinking, and this is the top of a year? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of my favorites of the year, actually. I knew it. But I've also been reading a comic called Irredeemable by Mark Waid.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Have you guys heard this one?
Not heard of it, no.
I don't think so, but I know of Mark Waid.
Mark Waid can be kind of a controversial figure, I think.
Yeah.
So this comic has been optioned. So Irredeemable and Incorruptible are 2 comics Mark Waid wrote. Netflix has optioned both of them to be turned into a movie. And Irredeemable is about a Superman. Well, it's so hard to make it sound not derivative of like Invincible or The Boys, but it's different. It follows a character named Omni-Man, who's like a Superman type character in this world.
One day, what's his name from Invincible?
No, that's not Omni-Man. That's from Invincible. It was his fucking name in
I
mentioned Invincible. I mentioned Invincible. Then I got Invincible stuck in my brain.
Okay.
Which we need a season 2 ASAP of that.
Yeah.
Let me get this fucker's name. Let's get this fucker's name. Either way, the Plutonian, that's his name.
Okay.
The Plutonian. And he levels the entire capital city of the country. Just one day. He snaps, kills everybody, and then he begins hunting down the people who were in his like Justice League type situation and is trying to murder them one by one.
Gee,
as they're trying to
sound familiar.
Yeah, as they're trying to lay low and like find out what happened to him and why is he acting this way. And that becomes the difference between this and Invincible, where Invincible's kind of like a parody of Silver Age and Golden Age comics. This is more like a love letter to Golden Age and Silver Age comics while using this kind of trope of Superman going evil. And it takes a bunch of different elements of Golden and Silver Age comics in referencing, throws them on their head, does some interesting things with them. It has some really great character development. It's not like as like Invincible has more of like a jokey tone with it.
Yeah.
And even it's also more of kind of like a comedic tone to it. This one's playing it more straight and more serious. Like even the opening scene has the Plutonian going to one of his sidekick's house, making his sidekick watch him murder his wife and child, and then murder his sidekick. And then he just flies away.
Nice.
And a lot of it seems to be about the idea of like superheroes wanting people to be grateful towards them and acknowledge them. And like, I do all this work for you, so you owe me what I do for you. And this idea of like gratitude and stuff kind of goes throughout the series, which is pretty interesting. But it's not so much like Invincible, where it's like, I'm really just using Earth to raise a son to help me conquest and enslave people. Or The Boys, where it's like all the superheroes are fucked up. Or even fucking Alan Moore's run on Marvel Man.
Yeah.
Not Marvel Man. Miracle Man.
Yeah.
Which is more a lot of rape in that one. But that was also kind of like a superhero darker side. This one is trying to be a bit more of focusing on the golden age comic tropes and then kind of flipping them around. And I heard by the end it turns into like a love letter to like the original comic creators. So I'm interested to see kind of how it plays out. But I'm about halfway through the first volume because they released it in 2 omnibuses. I'm halfway through Omnibus 1, and I think it's really great stuff.
Well, cool.
But Matt, what about you?
Yeah. So let's see. This week, I think big one that I can talk about is I finished Zombie Sharks with Metal Teeth, Stephen Graham Jones, one of his collections. This was out by Lazy Fascist, and I think it came out in 2000. In fact, I'm even holding the book. I could tell you exact date, 2013. So
look at that professionalism.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, I had it. I was ready. I'm holding it.
Fascist.
What? Yeah.
Fascist. That's really good books.
Yeah. So this is just like it's awesome. It's just so wild, especially like you think about Stephen Graham Jones now and everything he's putting out now. And then you get to this book and you're like, he was just unhinged and just wacky. All this stuff is just so bizarro and crazy. And it's all these little things, because at the end of it, he's got his story notes, which I've learned over listening or being on this podcast. Always look for story notes because they're quite helpful. So he's got story notes in this about all the stories, and it's always like his big thing is just trying to figure stuff out, and just the way he figures things out is just insane and so entertaining. He's got a slasher story in here, a little campground slasher story that's really interesting, again, to read from a 2013 book to what he's been putting out recently, just to kind of see where his mind was at back then. And that's the interesting other thing about this too, is a lot of these stories he talks about, he had written even way earlier. So there's stuff from here that's like 10 years old. So think about like 2003, he's putting these things out, and it's just fascinating to kind of see his progression and like see some of these crazy stories about somebody similar to what I had talked about a couple weeks ago with The Factory. There's one in here about some people working at a department store, and there's going to be a secret shopper, and it just slowly progresses to them just living nonstop, like just living in this department store, and even the like secret shoppers, this like insane person. And so it's just this really kind of messed up story. Or he's got a couple zombie stories in here, of course, because it's called Zombie Sharks, but it's not your typical zombie one. There's a really fun one about these kids playing baseball, and the main character really wants to impress this girl that works at a pool. It's like a lifeguard. And so he's waiting and waiting to do the perfect like hit for her. At the same time, they needed somebody in left field, so they grabbed the zombie because, of course, there's zombies all around. And the ball gets stuck in this zombie guy's head. He goes to kind of get the ball back and loses his shot with the girl. So it's just this really like interesting take on zombies, and in that time in that story, they all just know zombies are out, and it's just like a normal thing, which I actually quite enjoy, that idea of the mundaneness of zombies being around. the zombie shark story itself is a really interesting like look at like a mad scientist and just there's no zombie shark actually in there. It's like these dolphin heads, and then there's like a mouse that they unfurled its brain, and so now the mouse can do all these crazy things. And so it's just it if you can find it, I highly recommend getting it. It's great.
It sounds super wacky, so yeah.
Oh, it is. Every story in here, you're just like, what is happening right now? And you just kind of go with the flow. And I mean, and you can like see his style. I think we've even talked about it when we did, what was it, 3 Miles Past, and we did this story about the guy collecting the dead dogs. At her 3 Roads Past. I can't remember what that was, but that was like 3 novellas in there. And
yeah, that was a weird story. It's a good one, but
yeah. And so it's fun to kind of see like how he's progressed. And that's not to say that, oh my goodness, why am I drawing a blank on the last one? Not the Reaper one, but what was the other one he just did? Now I'm looking through my list.
My Heart is a Chainsaw?
Yes. There it is. I lost my professionalism. My Heart is a Chainsaw. Like that still has like some wild stuff, or The Only Good Indians has some really wild stuff in it. But then like when you read this short story, he just had no restrictions, and he's like, I'm gonna do whatever crazy thing I want. And it's really fun to kind of see that. All of these stories are just these wacky him coming up with a thing. And what's also fun is just knowing his like writing style. And he's talked about this on lots of things, and how he doesn't take a lot of time with short stories. He just goes in and does it and gets it out. And he talked about in some interview I had listened to him where he was like, oh, I was going to take some time on a short story. And he's like, it just felt too long, like writing it in a week. He's like, I couldn't do it. And so all that to be said is like, it's amazing to kind of think of him cranking these things out, and how they turn out is just so good. And it does make you think like, well, maybe I don't need to spend a couple weeks on something. Maybe I need to just jam it out in a day. So, anyway, Zombie Sharks with Metal Teeth is great. I am reading the latest issue of Vastarien, which is volume 5, issue 2. Just came out like a week ago, and again, super good. I won't need to go into too many details about that. There's a ton of great weird stories in there. There's a really fun nonfiction piece about Junji Ito, which is really cool. I think they did one in the last issue too, so it's kind of fun seeing people take a look at Junji Ito's stuff and then kind of compare it to more weird fiction and everything. So definitely worth checking that out as well, and subscribing if you're not subscribed. And I think the final thing is Murderville, Who Killed Santa. It's on Netflix. I think it just came out like yesterday, and so we watched it. This is a blast. If you have not watched Murderville, I think we've talked about it before. It has oh my goodness, why do I keep drawing a blank on it's not Ed Helms. Will Arnett. Will Arnett plays Terry Seattle, a detective, and each episode he gets some famous person, and they do like everybody has a script except for this guest, and then they have to like go through wackiness. But this one has Jason Bateman and Maya Rudolph in it, and they have to figure out who killed Santa within 12 hours. And it's just so bonkers and hilarious. And like at a point, and this doesn't spoil anything because it's literally in the title, Santa gets murdered by a giant candy cane. And they say like, they pull it out of the body, and they're like, there's no way anyone could have carved this candy cane. They had to lick it. So there's a lot of licking discussion on how great somebody is a licker to lick a candy cane to this sharp of a point. And it just
the mind goes to weird places when you think of that.
Oh yes, and there's a part where dude gets naked and nobody can handle it, and it's just hilarious. It's good, stupid fun. If you're into any kind of dumb things like that, Murderville, Who Killed Santa is amazing. That's it for my week.
All
right, Vilme, what about you?
I finished finally I finished the audiobook version of Manhunt by Gretchen Felken.
Yes.
Damn, I can't remember her full name.
Martin?
Yes, thank you.
Everyone's going to love this episode. We're all like,
oh, yeah. We're being like, there's so much brain fuck here. I'm blaming the fucking weather for me, so yeah.
I'm blaming the hot coffee on my butt right now.
I'm blaming the weather and the lack of sleep that I got due to the goddamn strain in my back muscle. So yeah, the pros of being old, people. But yeah, I finished Manhunt, and that book is a wild ride. It is completely wild. But I really enjoyed basically the ride that it took us. It just follows, it's like, if you are not familiar with the story, it follows what happens after when some kind of virus, they call it the T-Rex virus, it kind of afflicts only men, like only one of the ones who have an XY chromosome. And it kind of just mutates them into these kind of like savage beasts, like part feral, but they're not. They don't have any like basic. Like the only basic instincts for them is to eat and fuck.
Okay.
And they don't care how they're gonna do it.
Okay.
And not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, exactly. So it follows basically the aftermath of that day when that happened, and we follow two trans women, Beth and Franny, who are trying to survive this kind of new post-apocalyptic setting in their lives, because they kind of have, in order to survive, they have to hunt down these feral men and harvest their balls and their kidney lobes.
Okay.
Because they need it in order to keep taking the drug they need in order to stay women, of course. Because if they don't, they will have the risk of reverting and becoming feral themselves.
Nice.
And not only that, they not only have to, risk hunting these men and also kind of risk of being killed by them, they're also facing turfs.
God.
Who are hunting them down because they don't see them as women.
All right.
And it's kind of like this power struggle between, a community of trans women and trans men and the turfs. And it's a wild ride. Like, it's unforgiving. It has so much fluid. It has vivid descriptions.
I just had to think about that one for a second. But
yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's like it's overflowing with fluids in it.
You could say it's seeping.
It's
just sopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like any kind of fluids. You name it. Doesn't matter. And like the body horror descriptions are really well written. It's just horrifying. And the relationship between those characters, I felt like they were messy as fuck. But I felt it felt realistic to me. It's like how the hell would you react in this kind of setting? Like, how would you be doing?
Yeah.
And trying to survive when there are two different kinds of people trying to hunt you down because of who you are. And it was really vivid. It was like, it really gripped you. The third act was like tense and balls to the walls, like in your face. I can definitely see this like as a movie. It was so well portrayed. And there was like this twist at the end that I did not see coming, and it blew my mind.
That's awesome.
So I'm not gonna say what it was, but I was listening to it, like I was listening to the last hour, like while I was at work, and I had to stop and pause, and just my mouth flew open at the reveal, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know that. What?
The book is pretty fucked up.
It's so fucked up. It's so fucked up, but it's so good. Like, it left you, the end didn't really leave you with like a happy ending, but it's like it was bittersweet. And I felt like it was the most realistic thing ever. Like, I hate when you have to, like, when you have these kind of post-apocalyptic settings or something like that, they have to have a happy ending. And I'm like, no, you're living in hell.
Yeah.
You have to make the best of it. And it has to be bittersweet. I'm sorry. So I definitely recommend this book. It's really good. Like, it's definitely not something you're accustomed to. Like, this is like the first time I've read something that was like so, like, it had a lot of gut punches, and like it was also really visceral, but it's also really nice and thought provoking.
Huh.
Because if you don't really know like the struggles that trans people are like going through, like, this is a really good example of that. And it was horrifying to read, and I can't imagine how Gretchen must have felt when she was writing this. Like, going into these deep minds of the turfs, it was just horrifying.
Yeah.
Just like their mindset about it was just god awful.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's a fucked up book, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah. I mean, the person who did the narration was okay. She managed to do like changed her voice a little bit more, but I kind of would have wanted just a tad more. But that's just me. That's just my preference. But she did a bang up job though.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. I also finished this morning because I woke up expecting to go for a walk, but then it snowed in, so fuck that shit. I had to go watch something instead. I finished which is on Netflix right now. It's called Don't Pick Up the Phone. And it's a docuseries about a case called the Strip Search Hoax.
It just sounds crazy.
It is. I didn't think this existed, but it did. And it's like, it spans over 10 years. And it's about this guy who just went on like a just regular payphone and called these various fast food establishments, mostly McDonald's though. And he would pose as a police officer, and he would tell the manager who picked up the phone that one of their employees had stolen something from a customer, and they had to go and grab that employee, take them into their office, close the door, and while still being on the phone, he instructed them to strip search them.
And they never questioned the guy on the phone?
No, that's the thing about it. Like, of course, when you're watching this, you cannot help but think, like, why didn't you hang up the phone, or why did you go along with his orders? But here's the thing. Because of the psychology behind it, that you wouldn't really want to stand up against authority.
Right, yeah.
Because he was posing as a policeman, and you probably, as the manager, would probably be afraid of facing the consequences of denying that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So they were like in the show. They were like there was this psychologist who was talking about this fact that this is not a new thing. Like, there was this one psychologist, can't remember the name, who did this kind of research about obedience, and in which a guy. There was like this guy and a participant, and then there was another guy who was an actor, but who was pretending to be a participant as well, and he would put them up against each other, where the participant had to answer, had asked questions, and the actor would answer them wrong. And if he answered them wrong, the participant would have to give them shocks.
Oh, yep.
So yeah, it's kind of connected to that. Like, and there was like, and they would ask the participant, like, why are you doing this? Why don't you stop? And he's like, I wanted to, but I can't. Like, I have to follow this. They told me to.
Yeah.
it's kind of like the same kind of psychology around the fact, like when there's a fire, and if you don't see someone wearing, for example, a yellow vest or something like that, you don't follow the instructions of going out of the building.
Oh, it's just crazy.
I know. And yeah, and this, like I said, this spanned from 10 years, from 1994 till 2004, and about 100 people were hoaxed into this.
That is
100
insane.
women were hoaxed into this strip search, and most of them actually went into sexual assault. Like they were forced to perform sexual acts on the managers.
Jeez.
And which is basically rape. And the guy got away with it.
Oh my gosh.
That's so fucked up. And I was just like watching this, and I'm like, wow, what the? And the one person who experienced this, she decided to sue McDonald's because they noticed that like I said, they noticed that this had been going on for 10 years, and McDonald's had not done anything to warn the employees about this. So she sued them for $200 million. But unfortunately, she didn't get that much. But she won the case and got $6 million.
Wow.
So I think after this, like after the lawsuit, they might have put like maybe a warning next to the phone, like, "Hey, if someone's calling you for this, don't answer this. This is a hoax."
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, this mostly occurred in Kentucky. So if Laurel is listening, we need to talk about this to see if you remember this or not.
Yeah. Gosh, that's just crazy. So, because it's called a cult, was there more than one person doing the phone calls?
No, it was just one person.
Jeez.
They got him on tape, going to Walmart and purchasing these calling cards that he used for the payphones.
Ah.
And they got him, like they had him on tape, so they managed to go to court for this. But apparently the guy had a good defense lawyer, so the jury convicted him not guilty, so he is still around.
That's insane.
Yep. But apparently, I guess after this lawsuit, he got like cold feet and got spooked, so he hasn't done this afterwards, I think. But like for 10 fucking years, and he's a father of 5. And he was a correctional facility officer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What?
That is scary and insane.
Yeah, it is. That's why I was like, why haven't I heard about this? This is horrifying. So yeah, it was entertaining to watch. I love these kind of weird docuseries. So when they kind of land on Netflix, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use my weekend to watch this. And what else? I also finished Dragon Age Absolution, which is an animated series on Netflix. It's a really short series, about I think 8 episodes.
Okay.
And it's really short, and just it happens. It was okay. I mean, I like the animation. Okay. It was really good. I'm not familiar with Dragon Age, so I just decided to watch it because it has this D&D vibe, Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like, I mean, it's similar-ish. Like they had I want to say tiefling, but it's called a Konari, and I'm like, nah, that's a tiefling. It's like I looked at her and I'm like, what? The only thing you're missing is a tail, but you're a tiefling, honey.
You're like, this is totally not a half thing. It's not a tiefling at all.
Yeah. I mean, they had elves, they had dwarves, and then mages and everything. I'm like, yeah, this is Dungeons and Dragons, basically.
It's amazing.
I mean, since I have to wait for season 2 of Legend of Vox Machina, I just figured I'm like, I can just watch this to get my fix.
It's coming up. I think in January.
I know. I'm so fucking excited.
I'm still waiting for Invincible season 2. We get Vox Machina before Invincible.
I know, that is kind of interesting that like they both sort of came out around the same time. They both have a ton of like material to pull from, and they just, I don't know why Invincible didn't. If it just didn't connect with people, who knows?
Maybe that didn't have as much good humor. Maybe I mean, the humor in Vox Machina is amazing.
Yeah, oh, totally.
It's so good. I'm still listening to Critical Role
nice.
at work, and I'm still I'm still in campaign 2 with the Mighty Nine, and I will celebrate so fucking hard when they decide to animate the Mighty Nine, because this is the funniest shit I've ever heard. It's still so funny. I would there was this one part in the episode, and I know it's probably going to be hard to explain this for those who are not familiar with Critical Role or the campaign 2 with the Mighty Nine, but there was this heist gone completely wrong, and the monk Beauregard, she was supposed to be on lookout, and she kind of fucked it up so bad. Like, she tried to kill a guy using acid. Just pouring acid into his mouth.
Oh my god!
and it was like a really low grade acid to use to rinse off rust from swords.
Oh no!
So it was like a really slow, painful death.
That is amazing.
And when she came back, and when they had finally gotten out of trouble, she was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I killed a guy. Like, I really killed a guy." And the group was like, "Oh really? Did you go all monk-like and just snap his neck?" And she's like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, so did you use your monk abilities and just throw him off the tower?" She's like, "Oh, I probably should have done that." And then they're like, "What did you do?" And she's like, "I used acid." and the funny thing, and the guy was asleep when she did it.
Oh my god.
And when she told him, yeah, he was sleeping, he was open mouth snoring, and one of them was so shocked, and he was like, "He was sleeping." Just hearing the shock from the other characters, I was like, oh god, why did you put her in charge?
Oh, I love it. That is so funny.
It's just one of those things that I can just I love this. This is so funny. They can get really intense, but then they add this, and you're like, this is why I love this. I can listen to it every fucking day. And again, if you guys haven't listened to Critical Role or watched the Critical Role, just fucking do it. It's so funny.
Critical Role's great. It's just I feel so far behind, and it's so overwhelming to catch up.
It is. I mean, this is why I prefer listening to it at work, because it doesn't require that much attention to me. It's almost like I'm listening to people just having a conversation or just making a story, which is nice. It's completely different from having to listen to audiobooks while at work, because then you have to really concentrate on what is happening in the story.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it's really nice for me that I managed maybe 1 or 2 episodes a day, and I'm like, oh, I have so much. I don't have to wait a week to catch up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's helpful too. You just keep rolling right along with it.
Yep, oh, yeah. It's so nice. I'm I'm not even done with campaign 2. I think they've just entered the 3rd act, or the last arc. And I'm like, yeah, I still have so many episodes left. I'm so good. So Absolution was okay. I mean, I enjoyed it. The animation was good, and other than that, it was a little bit too short because it just focused on one specific heist. And I kind of would have wanted to have a little bit more description of the characters and their deal and stuff, and they kind of brushed it a little bit over. But I mean, if you like fantasy and good animation, this is good.
Perfect. Cool. But I was going to say, I also am in the middle of watching season 2 of Made in Abyss. I know you're not too into anime, Matt. Have you ever watched Made in Abyss, Vitlame?
No, I've heard of it.
So
I haven't watched it yet. It has super cutesy art, but the premise is dark as fuck.
Oh, it's super fucked up. It's one of the most fucked up things I've seen all year. I watched season 1 a couple years ago. Loved it. When the Dawn of the Deep Soul movie came out, which is the bridge between season 1 and season 2, I wasn't able to see it in theaters. And then there's a really not that great streaming service that got the rights to Made in Abyss called High Dive. High Dive, if you like old anime, High Dive has lots of old school 80s and 90s anime. So if you want like old school stuff, great. I was subscribed to their Amazon channel just to see the Made in Abyss movie, Dawn of the Deep Soul, which is one of the most traumatizing movies I've seen all year.
Yeah.
It was the end of season 1 was traumatizing. The movie pushed that so much further. And I was like, oh my God, like, what worse can they do? And then to make matters worse, season 2 of Made in Abyss can only be watched on the High Dive app and not on the Amazon channel because I guess there's some rights issues between season 1 and season 2, and season 1 being Amazon, season 2 being High Dive. I don't know. Anyway, season 2 opens up and it's even more fucked up than the movie. I think making the main characters children was definitely on purpose because they are giving these kids so much trauma and it's so hard to watch. But the premise is pretty much in the world of the anime and the manga, there's this hole in the ground they call like the abyss. And there's all this ancient items and artifacts from a long forgotten civilization that are valuable. So people called like treasure hunters go down into the abyss to collect items and bring them back up to sell. Our main character, her mother is what was called a white whistle, which is a very special like treasure hunter, and she went down to the abyss and never came back. And the main character thinks she's waiting for her at the bottom because a letter comes up saying that she's waiting for them to meet. So our main character, who's like a 12-year-old girl, decides to go into the abyss by herself to meet her mother. And in the abyss are all sorts of monsters and creatures, and every lair has a unique theme and setting that sets it apart, and it gets even more dangerous the deeper you go. And if you try to go back up, the abyss has what's called the curse, and if you try to go back up a level, you get hit by the curse. And the first layers, the curse is like you get winded, you get like a migraine, your head starts to hurt. By the time they get to the 6th layer, you can't go up another layer without losing your humanity. You legit lose your humanity and transform into a monstrous creature. So once you get to a certain point, there's no going back up.
Oh, jeez, that sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. Like I highly recommend it. It's just weird how they separated season 1 and season 2. But it's if you want to give season 1 a try and you have Amazon, I highly recommend it. It doesn't get super fucked up until the end. So if you watch it and you're like, oh, episode 1, 2, 3, that's not that bad. Episode 10. That's all I'm gonna say. Episode 10. But the more it goes, the darker it gets. And once it hits the episode 10, it's just bleakness after that.
Yeah, I think I need to be in the right mindset to watch it.
It's good, but yeah, you definitely need to be in the right mindset to watch it.
Yeah.
But I do
or just like be ready to put on Futurama or Friends or just some mindless happy things.
I mean, honestly, Futurama's happy. They made Jurassic Park. Come on.
I know, but I always skip that episode.
I think we're ready to get our favorite things of the year out of the way.
Yeah.
Mosey on right over. So, hands down, the best movie I've seen all year.
You are being ridiculous.
I was going to say The Menu. It's not The Menu.
Okay, good. I was like, no thanks. I'm done.
It's Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, yeah. I agree. 100%.
That is the best movie I've seen all year. I was originally going to say The Menu as a joke just to make you angry, Matt.
I mean, like, it was entertaining, but I probably will forget most of it in a couple days. So,
but no, Everything All at Once, like that movie is incredible. Like if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
Yes,
it is the best multiverse movie of the year.
100%.
Jamie Lee Curtis is great.
Yeah, she even got nominated, which is awesome.
I want hot dog fingers. Actually, and plus, any movie where Randy Newman voices a raccoon is a movie worth watching.
No, that movie was great. It was such a touching and just wacky. Yeah, everything about it I loved.
I spent the last half hour of that movie crying and laughing.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It's just the biggest emotional hit. It was so good, and like the fight choreography was great. The butt plug gag was hilarious.
Yeah.
The whole movie was just a ton of fun. It had a ton of heart, and I feel in like current media, and I feel really weird saying this is a horror podcast, but I feel so much work just gives into nihilism.
Oh yeah.
Where just everything is hopeless. And like we see it in a lot of like our like even like happy movies, they still have this nihilistic thing that they embrace, where everything all at once feels like a pushback against that nihilism. And I thought it was like a breath of fresh air. And plus, we had Short Round, and he was great.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to see him in the movie again.
Oh, he was so good in that movie.
He was the heart of that movie. Like I watched it again recently, and he's so good.
Yeah. No, I love it because what's so cool about it is how like strange and wacky it gets, yet everyone's still liking it. Like if you had put a movie out with talking rocks and googly eyes, people would be like, no. But in this, it's like totally works.
I mean, I'm interested in anything that the Daniels put out between like this and Swiss Army Man. Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
I'm intrigued by anything they have to put out next. And this was just a really wonderful movie. And I absolutely adored it.
Yes.
For books, I had to do a lot of thinking of my favorite book of the year.
Oh God, I know.
It had to be the book pissing off white people at the moment, which is Babel. It's a great book. I will say Babel's an alternate history fantasy novel.
I mean, of course it is.
About a man named Robin who's from Hong Kong. His parents die from cholera, and a man takes him to England to send him to teach him English and send him to Oxford. And in this world, the British Empire is controlled through the use of magic, which is used through silver, and language controls the silver and gives it its power. So they take people from different countries, put them in Oxford, have them work in translation, and have the people from their own countries doing the work that is harming their own people back home through colonialism. And it follows 4 characters who decide enough is enough and violence is necessary.
I love that premise.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Isn't she the same writer who did Iron Throne, or?
She did what is it? She had a fantasy trilogy before this that was based on
Mecha anime.
China. No, it wasn't a mecha anime.
Wasn't it?
You're thinking of a different author.
Oh, I am.
R.F. Kuang wrote The Poppy War.
The Poppy War, yes. Okay, yeah, I was confusing with another one. Yeah, I want to, like, I'm not as huge on fantasy as I used to be, like when I was a teenager, but these books that she has written, I'm interested.
Yeah, the whole title for this one's actually called Babel, A Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford Translators' Revolution.
That sounds amazing.
It is a fantastic fantasy novel, and I absolutely adored it. And I'll give one more, and then I'll pass over to Matt because there are a few more things that I will say. But I will go over for comics, my favorite comic of the year, which was kind of a tie between Red Room, or the second Red Room arc, and I was just looking at it the other day, and Survival Street. But I had to go with Survival Street just for how unique Survival Street was.
Nice.
Have you read Survival Street, Matt? I know I talked about it before.
I have not.
I think you'd like it a lot, Matt.
Yeah.
So Survival Street takes place in... Okay, so Survival Street takes place, let me get the right year, in 2028. America has become, the government has been sold out to corporations, and now we don't have politicians, we just have corporate interests. And it's become a capitalist hellscape. And there was a popular kids show called Salutation Street that all the kids loved, and they teach good morals, and they were very diverse casts, and they were all happy and trying to do their best to help the kids. And then one day, the rebranded Ice Squad, now called Nice, raids their set and cancels their show and tries to arrest all of them. And then they decide that the thing hurting the children is capitalism, and they become far left political revolutionaries, and they take it to the streets to try to overthrow the government and topple the capitalist empire to save the children of the future.
Nice.
It's hilarious. It's heartbreaking. It's knows exactly what it's doing. It's not hiding its politics. It's in your face about everything that it's saying. And I kind of respect that. Like, I just respect the whole, like, we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to give these controversial opinions in my comic book, and I'm just going to go with it. Like, I think it's great. Because it's going to piss off lots of people.
Yeah.
But one of the characters used to be called Captain Fairness, and he's rebranded himself to Corporal Punishment. And
I almost spit.
And he has severe PTSD. And he ruins their reputation by murdering the government officials on live TV.
Oh my god. Amazing.
But there's one part where it like flashes, where it gives a flashback. It goes to where the puppets come from, because the puppets are living in this comic. They're real living beings. And in the comic, they lived in a communal society that was on an island, and they all worked together, and they were just one big community living off of each other and helping each other. And a corporation found that the one of their caves has a lot of bat shit in it, and they want to harvest the feces to make material overseas. And they pretty much enslave the puppets and turn them into workers. And they introduce the island to capitalism. And this causes everyone to begin to go against each other and fight each other. And then one day an accident happens, and a lot of the puppets die, and the corporate interests go, well, not our problem, and just leave.
Nice. Sounds so crazy.
It's great. It's very on its face. It's very on its nose of what it's trying to do. And I love it. It is such a fun read. I highly recommend Survival Street. I know the trade's coming out, I think, in a couple months, but you can buy all 4 issues on Comixology for like $1 an issue.
Oh, that's not bad.
But Matt, what are some of your favorites for this year?
Oh man, yeah. So it was tough. Like we said at the beginning of this episode, it seemed like a long year. So I'm trying to like think back to everything. So hopefully I don't miss stuff I really enjoyed or thought were really great this year. But we'll see what happens. I movie wise, I would definitely say Nope was on the top of my list. I think that was such a
menu?
Yeah, not the menu. that was, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I don't have a problem with the menu. I just think that it like, I think if you're a foodie, it would have been a lot more entertaining. And I think that a certain character did not need to be in the movie at all, because it still happened regardless if they were in it or not. But that's beside the point. Nope was really good. I think it was a great summer horror movie. Had some really, obvious chilling imagery in there with Gordy and the angel, and just, I mean, I had an absolute blast with it, and I think it was great. It's one of Jordan Peele's better movies, and just so much fun. Reading wise, I have like a lot of good stuff that either I read that maybe didn't come out this year, but I enjoyed, or stuff that did come out this year. One, I was just like looking through my list, and I'm glad I keep seeing it slowly get talked about, but I feel like it needs to get talked about more. And I've said it a million times on this show, but Jonathan Rabb's Haunting of Camp Winterfalcon, I think is just peak Jonathan Rabb, and just
I need to start that.
You do. It's just this perfect blend of his commentary on the military and his weird cult and conspiracy theory stuff. I mean, if you've read his other work, you know kind of where he's going with it, but here he just really hits home with it. And it's just, again, like I've said on this podcast before, it's like the perfect manual on like what PTSD is about and what it's like as a veteran and in this world, and when the machine of the military chews you up and spits you out, and what it does to you after the fact. And I think this is, if somebody was reading this and they weren't looking at all the scary stuff that was in it, they'd be like, shit, we really do treat veterans like shit. So it's such a good book. So I think that was one of my favorites for the year. Other things, this came out very early this year, but Christy Nogle's Balua was an amazing, like, just weird story about ghosts and this like schoolhouse that the family's trying to fix, and just what coming of age as a girl and just dealing with everything in there. And it like was hit huge beginning of year, and as we know in everything in this life nowadays, things kind of come in and they go really fast, and I think this is one that people need to relook at. Mothwoman, which we talked to Nicole Cushing about, I love all. Yes, I love all Nicole Cushing's work, and Mothwoman was just pitch perfect, capturing 2020 COVID times and the discussion on politics and the scariness of what that is all about. And just listen to that episode with Nicole Cushing on it. It was great, and I think we covered everything in there. But again, I think people need to check that one out. Betty Rocksteady's soft. Oh, sorry.
That's one of their episodes to record this year too. That was so much fun.
That was so much fun. Even our tangents were just amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I just adore her work, and I think she is amazing and definitely worth checking out if you haven't. And let's see what else. Betty Rocksteady's Soft Places, which is this great blend of graphic novel and story. And again, it's just this. I mean, it's Betty Rocksteady. She's amazing. I also adore everything she puts out. So she's definitely, you need to check this one out because her artwork is just great. And it's just this weird story. Like, I can't even describe what's happening in it. It's just so good. I will pull out a magazine that I've been adoring besides Vastarien, but is Cosmic Horror Monthly. And they've been doing a really awesome since, I want to say July, maybe August. I can't remember. But Patrick Barb has a story, like a serial novella in there called The Nut House. Again, I brought this up, but I think it's really cool. And it's sort of hidden because it is in this thing. But like, I'm hoping you can get this all out in one thing. It's about squirrels breaking into a house to get these nuts, and there's something crazy in this house that I don't even want to give it away, because like as you're reading it, you're just like, what is happening? And I just love the idea that they're squirrels, and so we're dealing with squirrel stuff. And I've recently become obsessed with squirrels, which is so stupid to say out loud, but my desk, I moved to be in front of a window, and that has just ruined my productivity because we have a million squirrels in our yard, and I just watch them all the time. So it's absolutely
I have
stupid.
a YouTube channel for you to check out, Matt.
Is it the Mark Roper? Have you seen those?
Are you talking about the NASA engineer?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I've watched these.
It's amazing.
He for listeners, and again, this is so stupid, but I love it. There's like at least three little videos he's made where he creates like American Ninja Warrior courses for these squirrels that are in his yard.
I love those.
Mhm.
So anyway,
it's just I love that he has time to do this, and it's so good for our entertainment.
right? Exactly. And it's fascinating and it's fun. It's great for kids to watch because they're learning like bad experiments and stuff. And all of that to say, when I read the first part of Patrick Barb's Nut House, I was like, oh man, he gets me 100%. Who knew Staring into the Abyss would be talking about squirrels, but here we are. You know what? Comic-wise, one that I would like to bring up is Charles Soule and Ryan Brown's 8 Billion Genies, which is, I think, almost done. It's like an 8-issue thing. And I'm pretty positive I haven't talked about it live on the podcast, but basically the concept is at this one random point in time, everybody in the world gets a genie and they get one wish. And you are following this group of people in a bar in Detroit, and the owner of the bar, as soon as the genie appears, wishes that any wish outside of the bar would not affect the bar and the people in the bar. And then the genie disappears. And so this comic is absolutely bonkers. These are the guys that did God versus Astronauts and Curse Words. So they do this just kind of satirical, silly, amazing artwork comics. And this one, it's just insane because, as you can imagine, the world and people all getting one wish, the wishes are insane. So like it jumps around a lot, and there's like, kids wishing for a million toys. There's people wishing to be superheroes. There's people wishing to be super villains. There's people wishing their country could be the biggest country in the world. There's people hoarding other people with wishes, and they're trying to do good things. And you start to like figure out like the genies all sort of can chat with each other. And they're all these little silly drawings that sort of match the human they're with. And but like, so the genies kind of like collate. So like they're not going to make a wish that would like destroy the earth, or they're going to make sure certain wishes like all kind of work, because everyone's going to wish for a lot of people are going to wish for the same thing, so they want to make sure like everyone gets a good one. And it's just like I can't you like you'll get to panels and there'll be like these weird like Hamburglar monster people running around, and there's gonna be people who wish to have sex with like famous dead people, and just like it's insane. And so like you get a part where like Jim Morrison, Jane Austen, and Ernest Hemingway are still alive, and they're all like together, and they're like, as long as the human that wished them is still alive, they'll exist. But if something happens to the human, they'll disappear. And so just like, it's absolutely batty. It's a blast. And I'm in talking about all these shows that are getting picked up. Amazon did pick this up, so this apparently will be an animated show. And I'm very interested to see how they manage this, because it is absolutely insane. And it's been one of my favorite reads of the year, comic book wise. Yeah, and like, all right, that'll be it for me. I'm sure we'll have a general discussion later, but that's it for me.
Bill, man, what about you?
The funny thing is this has not really been like a good movie year for me. Like, I haven't been really watching a lot of movies. Or gone to the movies for that matter.
I've seen so many movies this year.
Yeah, I know, but I was like, I'm more into TV series where I can just, if I can binge, I will binge. But,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think my favorite movie of the year is Barbarian.
Oh, nice. See, I still haven't even seen that yet.
Yeah, you still haven't seen it. I just really liked it because I had already gone watch. Like I mentioned it in our previous episodes, but I had seen Smile, and I was kind of underwhelmed by it because it was like tired tropes, and you've seen it before and everything. But then
I'm gonna interrupt real quick.
Yeah,
I think Smile would be really good if we were all teenagers.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if we hadn't seen all like the Ring movies or It
Yeah.
Follows or something like that. If you hadn't seen those already, this movie probably would have blown your mind.
Yeah, no, I think Smile would have been a really good movie if I were like a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a well-made movie. I just think like if you're a horror veteran, you've seen it before.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're making it with a teenage audience in mind.
Oh yeah,
I think they're
definitely.
making it for like us.
I mean, the majority of the movie goers, when I went to see it in the movies, were teenagers. So yeah.
Me too.
But yeah, Barbarian, I kind of like. I didn't see anything about it. I took Rich's advice to not research anything because usually I tend to watch trailers
Yeah.
or just glean a little bit of info on what the movie's about. But in this time, I was like, nope, I don't know anything about it. I'm just gonna see and watch it and see how I will feel about it. And it just managed to capture this really tense atmosphere. Like the minute I saw her like get out of the car, I was like, nope, you stay in that car or go away, honey. I was just like, this is so tense, and I just like my muscle tensed, and I was like, if I usually I was watching it in my bed, but if I was standing in a seat, I probably would be sitting on the edge of the seat, ready to run. Because it was that tense, like all the moments, like they were giving us this things like the bad decisions of the woman. You almost wanted to scream at the TV. And I love those kind of horror movies where you are like where they are making bad decisions, which is, I mean, this is a horror movie. What else would they be doing?
Right.
And it makes you want to scream at the character. That's what I love about horror.
Yes. That is
And
good.
then in the middle of the movie, it just took a 180, and you're like watching some guy driving around a sunny coast, and you're like, wait, what? and you just like look, and you look back, and you're like, am I watching the same movie? And then it kind of all connects together, and it's like they do it really well, in my opinion. And Justin Long has gotten the crown of being the best horror douche ever.
Just among us great in Barbarian.
He's really great, and like yeah, like all the twists in there, they were good, and well, at the same time, I'm still disappointed at the ending. Didn't want it to go the way it had to be, but I understand it. So, but yeah, for me, that movie is my favorite of the year. Series wise, I'm gonna have to say Peacemaker.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Peacemaker's so good.
It's so good.
It was 2022. I thought it was 2021. That's a
right.
It's kind of
no. It was like in January or February that they released it.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And yeah, like Peacemaker was my favorite. It's like it's one of the few shows where you actually don't skip over the intro. You just watch the intro and you just like, I'm having such a good time watching this. And you just kind of wish the entire series was just like this, them dancing, because that would just make me so happy.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
John Cena is awesome as Peacemaker.
Yes.
Oh, he is fantastic.
He just this showed that he can really act.
Right.
And just like he has so much potential, and I can't wait for season 2.
Yes.
If we get season 2.
If we get season 2, that is. Hopefully.
I mean, I don't know. There was a whole HBO show that was filmed and being edited, and they canceled it.
It's so weird.
After it was given the green light for a second season. So hopefully we get a season 2.
Yeah, I hope so. And of course, because we've been talking about it recently, one of my favorite is Andor.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
It's like the best series this year. Or, I mean, like the decade maybe? I don't know. It's just, it blew my mind how good it was.
Yeah.
How much it was connected to the Star Wars universe, but at the same time you had none of the Jedis.
Yeah.
None of the Siths.
Yeah.
There you go.
the bad Jedis.
Yes.
not what happens in your skin.
No, yeah. No. Well, how I thought I was saying is like none of the white men. But of course they have plenty of that. I mean, what are you talking about? It's basically a fascist thing.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's like they managed to do a really good series of introducing both a heist story, a prison escape story, and the beginning of a rebellion.
Yep.
Seriously.
And it was so every single point, like every single part of these stories, they had like a beginning and an end, like beginning, middle, and an end, and they were executed perfectly.
Yes, and they all serve that bigger story for Andor, which is just amazing.
Yes. And I honestly cannot wait for season 2. It's gonna be amazing, and I cannot wait for him to meet Kay. I need that Kay moment, please. Give me Kay.
Oh, season 2 is gonna be great. Like Andor was an incredible show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Diego was so good.
I know.
And it's so funny. I told my husband when we were watching, and I was like, "Hey, do you know that actor?" And he's like, "No." And I'm really? It's the guy who was in The Terminal. And he was like, "Wait, what? You mean the Tom Hanks movie?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. I don't think I knew that.
Just seeing him from going like playing this goofy romantic guy in The Terminal, and then going to this, I'm like, oh, I love this development.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same as seeing Pedro Pascal going from being Tyrell and getting his eyes smashed, and then going to Mando, and you're like, this is like the perfect development. Thank you for this. Yeah, like that, and of course, along with Andor, of course, I love the Mandalorian. So I cannot wait for more Mandalorian. I just need more Mando.
Oh, Mando!
I gotta try the Mandalorian again. I can't get past episode 3, no matter how many times I've tried.
I think for me, the reason why I love the Mandalorian so much has basically nothing to do with the Star Wars universe. It has to do with how well it's connected to Wolf and the lone wolf and the cub.
Yes.
Like so that's actually why
Is that why you can't watch it?
That's why I can't watch it. Because every time I'm just like, I'd rather just watch Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like it. I mean, I like how the managed to spin it into it. So I'm like, and not a lot of people know about it. So I think it's a rare thing, I think.
Which I think like helped with it. But yeah, no, I think it's just a fun, like, kind of Western-y story. And what I like about this, like Mandalorian, and then I was also going to really suggest Bad Batch. I don't know if you've watched that yet, but like the way they tie stuff into the Clone Wars cartoon, which I think was one of the better Star Wars stuff until what we've recently got. But just some of the ties into that and everything like that. So yeah, I've been enjoying it. But I mean, if I were to compare that to like Mandalorian and Andor, I mean Andor all day. So
oh yeah, definitely.
Have other of you? No, we're a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, surprise!
Tales from the Jedi.
Oh, I did watch that. I love that too.
That was so good.
Yes, that was a blast just to kind of see. And I think like it's really cool. Like, and again, we are getting deep into a Star Wars discussion. Sorry, everybody, but like that, and like I like is seeing all these like secondary stories and showing the progression of like things. So that one, and showing how Dooku kind of what his thought process is as he goes through, and he's like, I don't know about all these things. I think we should do it this way. I thought that was great. And like I've been rereading, and I think I mentioned it last week, Star Wars High Republic, and that was another one. It's a really good look. And I think what I like is having creators, writers or people making these shows, like look at this magic of the Jedi and taking it and being like, hey, you know what? There are some bad things that can happen, and there's a hubris there that's not great. And so Tales of Jedi is just another good example of them being like, wow, look at what Dooku can do.
So book wise, some of my favorites, two of them I know they were not released this year, I think. The Ballad of Black Tom is one of my favorites.
Yes.
A great book.
So good. And Ring Shout as well.
Yes.
It's also great.
It's so good. But there are two that were released this year that I still think about, and they're really good. The other is Below by Laura Hightower.
Oh, yep.
Oh, yep. That was a great book.
So great. It's like so tense. It has a really vivid imagination. The gore was there, and the Legend of the Mothman was really greatly integrated into the story. I also really enjoyed To Be Devoured. I know it wasn't released this year, but it was my first Sarah Tantlinger story. So, and I'm like, you need to read more. You're amazing.
She mostly reads poetry. Her poetry's great.
Yeah, I need to read. Sorry, I need to read her poetry collection about H.H. Holmes.
Yes.
Oh, I have it. It's fantastic.
I've heard so many good things about it. But the other one I also really liked, and is one of my favorites as well, was The Ghost They Ate Us.
Yes, that was really close to bringing that one up too. I thought that was such an inventive, awesome story.
It really was. And like I said, I listened to the audiobook version of it, and it blew my mind. Like, especially the end. The end was amazing. It just totally, I had to stop and I was just gobsmacked. I was like, what the fuck? And the guy who was narrating the audiobook, he nailed it on the creepiness. Yeah. He actually just got close to the mic and whispered. And I'm like, no, don't whisper. No. The most creepy shit you can do in an audiobook is whisper things.
Just like this.
Yes, it's awesome. Seriously, it's so fucking creepy. Oh, it's like you're expecting this like weird story, and you're like, it's fine. And then he just delivers the blow, and you're like, I'm sorry, what?
Well, and I loved it because like Daniel Krauss, like he just captured. I mean, you even brought up a docuseries, and he just captured this moment because that's what it seems like Netflix is becoming, is just, and HBO Max and all these things of just like, how many documentaries can we do, crime documentaries? And he just captures that moment so well in this story.
Yeah. And the final favorite one that I read this year is, and I mentioned it already on the show, This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau.
Yes.
It's so good. It's so tense.
My queue, actually.
I
had that after autumn.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fast read. You will finish it within like, I mean, since you're such a fast reader, you might maybe finish it in 15 minutes. I mean, I finished it in a day, so there's an accomplishment for me. But for fast readers, I mean, maybe you might do it in 15 minutes because it's so tense. It's like, it's really gripping. And the relationship between the characters, between the main character and her mother, Sylvie, is just horrifying. And if you've ever had like an estranged relationship with a parent, she nails it. And like, there's so many things that like kind of shot right into my heart. I was like, oh, I've gotten these kind of comments before, and I hate it. And the end, I almost suspected the end, but the end was still a gut punch. So it's like, it's fast, but it's gripping. It's like misery meets god awfulness.
That's amazing.
And it's just so good. And I'm really happy how well this book is doing right now. It's like, Darklit Press is doing phenomenal right now, and I cannot congratulate them enough.
Yeah, it's been awesome to kind of like see online it getting hit up, and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. I mean, she can write. Caitlin is a really good writer, and she managed to like, if she has like a specific genre in mind, I think she can nail every one of it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So perfect. Good year.
Well, I also want to give one more shout out to. I was going through my short story collections I've read this year, and I can't pick my favorite, but I have two.
Okay.
A Different Darkness and Other Abominations by Luigi Musliano. It is his first English short story collection. He's an Italian horror writer. Some fucking amazing horror. Like, some of the best horror short stories I've ever read. And then Mike Lombardo's collection as well. Please Don't Tap on the Glass.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wonderful, if be it disturbing, and unfortunately, Vit LeMay got the more disturbing side of that collection.
Of course I do. I always pick the best part.
But it's a really great short story collection that I highly recommend.
Yeah.
I think 2022 has been a really strong year.
Yeah, it really has, and I'm actually surprised that I managed to remember what I picked and what was my favorites. I thought I wouldn't be able to find any. But,
right?
Because it, like we said, this year's gone by both really fast, but also so slow.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That it's hard for us sometimes to remember. Like, wait, what did I read and what did I consume, like media wise?
I know. I was trying to exactly. I was just like flipping through, and I'm like, oh yeah, we did read this, and we read that, and like didn't remember, or I did remember, and it's just there's a ton of just great stuff that came out a whole year, which was awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be plenty more next year, which I'm so excited about.
Oh my goodness.
I'm working on trying to get some special stuff in store for us next year too.
Nice.
Yes.
So I can't say anything yet, but I might have a big guest for us.
Exciting.
Exciting. I'll try to contain my fangirlness.
Unfortunately, we will not be releasing an episode next week because it is Christmas time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
oh my God, it's a week before Christmas.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
And we'll see everybody in.
Oh man, wait! Before I forget, this is to go way back. But if you haven't watched it yet, watch Adult Swim's Yule Log on HBO Max. That was amazing. Rich, did you watch that?
I did watch it.
Holy crap! It was so much fun.
It was. I loved it. It was wild, and only the guy from Too Many Cooks could do something like this.
Oh, seriously. It goes places that you don't expect. Yeah. And it's so wacky, but anyway, sorry. Go on. I just thought of that. So
that's okay. I also wanted to give one more shout out to Pearl.
Oh yeah.
A few weeks ago, and that's like my second or third favorite movie of the year. Like, Mia Goth was incredible in that movie.
Yeah, isn't it? It's what's so crazy, like, because I haven't watched it yet, but just the thought that because X came out this year too, right?
Yes.
So like, it's just like, again, the length of this year and the speed at which it traveled, so much came out. X and Pearl came out, and I feel like he's got the third one coming out very soon.
Yeah, Max is supposed to release next year.
So it's just anyway, it's crazy to think about.
It is crazy. But we'll see everybody back in 2023. Hopefully the abyss grows wider and deeper, and I don't mean to make that sound dirty.
And sopping.
And seeping and moist.
And oozing.
Don't forget some liquids being in there. And where can our listeners reach you at?
They can reach me on Twitter at @VitlemayS.
And Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter too. Brandenburg DM.
And this is Richard. You can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088. Be sure to follow Abyss with Add Into Staring. And this is Richard Gerlach saying keep staring.